Good morning. Good morning from Melbourne, Australia. Good evening to friends in North America, and hello to anyone watching on replay. My name is Nancy Hetker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Melbourne, Australia. And today I am going to be showing you how to make some cards featuring the lovely You stamp set, which it's about a year old now. And I've used a lot of the sentiments, but I don't use the images very often. But I have been inspired by this Random Act of Kindness card I received a few days ago. And I think it's really, really pretty. And I looked at it for a while and I figured out that she cut a heart shape out of another piece of cardstock or material, and then she put it on the basic white and then stamped using the shape as basically a stencil to mask off where she didn't want stamped. So I thought I would give that a try, and I think the heart is really cute, but I don't have any heart dies right now. So I've pulled out a couple of other ones to have a try. I think I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to combine this with another tip that I saw from someone for how to have your stencil stay perfectly aligned with your destination sheet, and that is to take a full width piece of cardstock and score it in half, and then it's always attached here, and then this is your receiving piece. We're going to cut the stencil into this side, and we're going to stamp through it onto this one, and then we're going to cut this one down to shape. It is a little wasteful if you're doing multiples, and that you keep throwing away this one unless you've got a use for, unless you come up with a way to use it. I figure I'm going to use the back side for stamping on, since there's two sides to every sheet. Hello Roseanne and Gladys and Paula, thanks for joining me. If you are here, please do say hello. I love to hear who's hanging out. So I'm going to use one of these ornate layers dies to cut just in one side of this cardstock. So let me show you what I mean here. Get this all lined up. Get that lined up evenly as best I can. Yep, those were my plates. That's fine. And then I don't care about all the little scruffy detail right now because I'm just using it for this outline. So you see I have now this outline frame, and when I pull in my missing bone folder here, and rub that down, that's not going anywhere. So that's a good thing. So I went ahead and I used the same colors that she did because I think they're really pretty. And I have my stamps lined up there. And it's going to open them real fast. So I've got Granny Apple Green, Coastal Cabana, Highland Heather, Daffodil Delight, and Flirty Flamingo. And I find when I'm doing these, it's best to start with the larger images because it's easy to fill in with small ones. So I'm really just going to stamp a bit randomly. And I think I'm going to do one like this. So you see, as I go, it's going to give me around the edges. Hopefully it'll do pretty well with this pattern. Where do I want to go? I don't know. We'll work it out here. A little more there. Another one in there. And what's next? This one, I think. Make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. Do some yellow, Daffodil Delight. And some of the Highland Heather. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna work on filling in here. Yeah, the colors are really bright and cheery. We're doing Melbourne Winter Gray. We've got a big winter storm series coming through yesterday, today. Probably be done by tomorrow. Here, moved off east. Rain, high winds. It's not so windy right now. I'm curious to see what this looks like underneath. Yeah, not so defined a pattern, but still pretty, I think. I don't know. That didn't go onto the paper at all. Let's see what else. That's filled in better. Okay, I'm going to call that one quits right there. we're going to do some more with some different shapes. This is my experimentation. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this down to the size that we want to layer on our card. So I'm going to start with just cutting off that. That's trash in the bin. And we're going to get this down to come here. Yeah. I cut that little cattywampus. Where are we here? There we go. Okay, let's see. See how we're going here. Oh, and yeah, I'll be right back. She embossed hers, which I think made a nice difference. I'm going to do just a smidge more here. These ends. Okay. I'm going to run it through the embossing folder. Let's see how we go. Need a different plate. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I hope you can see that texture on there. You'll be able to see it in the pictures in the blog anyway. I'm going to cut this one down too. Yeah, once again, the embossing does make a big difference. glue those on. So they say that we're going to get our restrictions eased tomorrow night as scheduled. Not snap back to where we were before, but that's fine. I'm just waiting to hear how many people we can have in our homes so I know what type of class to plan for the 19th. But I'm hoping it's going to be here in my home. And then I went ahead, I took that, where is it here? This many messages. I think I showed this to you another day. It's got one stamp. I did it on my Stamparatus. It's got one stamp and a die that I didn't bring over here that cuts out all of them at once. So I've got a whole slug of different sentiments that I could put on here. Some of them are really written really little. But almost always I go for birthday things. Okay, so I've got happy birthday. I'm so happy to celebrate these moments with you. Just a card to say hello. Hooray, it's your birthday. And wishing you a year of magical moments and wonderful memories. I think I'm going to go with that one. That says happy birthday without saying happy birthday. So bring in some dimensionals. Hi, Nikki. Thanks for joining. I'm about to go through this all again. Put that there. And some bling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Ready. Just a little bit, just to add a little sparkle. So there's one. I will come back and we'll do it all again. So I think for this one, it's similar, but it's got a different, less ornate scallop. I'm trying to decide if I want that size. I'm going to try going one smaller, I think. So again, I'm going to put it through the cut and emboss. I've got this scored in the middle, and I'm just going to line it up on one side in the center. maybe towards the, yeah. There we go. Straight. Set that aside for another use. And again, now I can come in and fold that over, and that makes my stamping stencil. Just stays in place very nicely. I'm going to repeat what I did before, a little differently this time maybe. Well, I'm sure they come out different every time anyway, but see if I can make it kind of a different strategy. Yeah, that many messages and then what is it? Many happenings is the other one. You could quickly accumulate a lot of sentiments. So I'm okay. Yeah, it's time saving if you've got what you want. That's my thing, is I can I'll use the 3 that I want out of the thing, and then I've got all these others hanging around, but that's okay. Let's see how we're looking. See, I love this. I can pick it up and I can look at it and close it and have it be in exactly the same space. So for me, the fact that I'm probably going to throw this away once I cut it down, it can be worth it to get this kind of accuracy. So if I were really into getting that full outline, what would I do? Yeah, I know what I would do next time. I'd probably come in with trying to decide if I want to do it now. Sure, why not? Question is what color? I'm gonna come in with some pale papaya, I think. Yeah. How about so saffron? There we go. And I'm going to hopefully not mess up the stamping colors too much, but just add a little light wash of color that will hopefully emphasize this frame that I'm doing a little bit more. See, it's really subtle, but it's there. So, yes, if I stamp on the frame, I could use it for a different card. You are right. But again, not particularly worried about it in this case. Yeah, if I stamp on this side of the frame, absolutely. Or even just emboss it and trim it to the right size. Absolutely. But right now I'm going to work on this. See if I can cut it to the size I want this time instead of wildly random. No, still kind of off. Okay. I'll get there eventually. I am measuring, and it is easier in metric, but still. Come here. There we go. I know, I look crazy. There we go. Okay, once more embossing. I'm using the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder. The woman who sent me the card used Subtle, but that has retired. And so I no longer own it. But I like this Tasteful Textile. Okay, so there's that one. And this time I'm going to layer up with Highland Heather, I think. I know I've shown you this before. I've got an edge that, because I was doing so much small slicing didn't come off quite even. You can use an emery board nail file. I've got this sanding block from the hardware store. And I think I'm going to once again cut this down. Go. Now for this one, I do not have pre-cut sentiments. Well, I do have the ones in that are on the Coastal Cabana cardstock, but I don't think that's what I want to use here. See, and I think, I don't know if you can see it, but I can see where I've done that So Saffron on there. It just helps define that space a little bit more. It doesn't really add a whole lot of color. Decide to do. I've got Cherished Friend and Just Because. And I'm stamping in Versamark ink, and I have my heat embossing kit right here. So there's white embossing powder on there. And this is going to get a little bit noisy for a second. Do you see a little bit of gold leafing, gilded leafing stuff floating around? It floats up and it floats right back down, so it's not going everywhere. I love how that changes. All you can see is my hand. Okay. And now it's melted and glossy. Get that out of here. See how we go with this. Okay. Sometimes to figure out exactly where I want to cut this off. So I have taken this little bit that came off this end, and I am just eyeballing it. But that's where I want to cut to get the length that I want. So I am going to do that just with my snips here. And then stick it back on in. And you can see I want to get it even in there. And especially when you haven't cut it to one of the prescribed widths, it's easier to just eyeball it on the back and make sure it's even. And there I go. Now, that's too big, I think. So I'm going to do it again. Yeah, I don't know. Are most crafters kind of trial and error? Are you trial and error, or are you figure it all out, plan it, measure it? There we go. That's going to be better on there, I think. Decisions, decisions, decisions. I'm going to do it down there. And so there's 1 and 2. And there's the sample one I had. And I'm going to do one more if you want to stick with me here. I have one more piece of this cardstock. And I'm going to do this shape one. I'm just going to run it off over here. You've seen me do that a couple times now. So here's the question. Do I or don't I blend on some saffron to start? I really kind of wanted to see if I could get that with just the stamping. So I think maybe we'll do that. We saw that it worked fine to add the saffron if we decided we needed it. So, same deal again. Yeah, I'll admit, Gladys, it depends on the day for me too. My brain's, as it so often is on Wednesday mornings, kind of fuzzy here. Okay, some yellow flowers in there. I do wonder, and I wondered beforehand, if I weren't using this particular technique with the cardstock staying attached here, if I had cut my stencil out of like printer paper that's a lot thinner, if I would have gotten a better definition here. The gap between these is because of the thickness of the cardstock. Which may be a reason I'm not getting such a well-defined edge of the frame. Oh, don't forget, I need to do some of these. So I might play again another day and see what comes out. If I try it with printer paper or a post-it note. See how we're doing here. So that comes out more like an oval, which is fine. What do you think? With or without some So Saffron to kind of define it? I don't know that you can actually tell on the camera. Yeah, when I look at my screen, that looks pretty well defined. I'm going to go for it, just like that. Okay, one more time with feeling. Let's see if I can get this cut the way I really intend it to be cut. Okay. Here we are at 10.5. I want it to go down to 9.5, so I'm going to cut this one off. At 10. Cut this one off. I think we've got it this time. This one is in there. This one. Oh, well, almost. There we go. Okay, run that through the embossing folder. Okay. Get that stuck on, see if I can get it straight. Okay, and then for this one, my embossing buddy. If you're in Australia and you do not own an embossing buddy and you want one, I have a secret stash and I'm selling them at cost. Just send me a note at nancy@nancysniftynotes.com and I will be happy to hook you up, because I think it's an essential tool and I am very disappointed that Stampin' Up! Stopped carrying them. So I'm going to take just a moment before I pull in my embossing stuff again to close these up, because we are finished and they are an accident waiting to happen. Likewise, these dirty stamps. Okay. Embossing powder. Let's see if I can get it so you can see the magic happen without only seeing the heat tool. There we go. Can you see that? I've been stamping what, 15 years? Still thrills me every time. So this one I'm gonna fussy cut. Get some of that off to start with. This is still a really trendy thing, hand cutting out these scripty sentiments. Stampin' Up! Paper snips are really, really sharp, which is what you need. But the other thing to know is that if they start getting dull, take them to any good knife sharpener. Often in the US anyway, often at sewing stores, they'll have somebody on hand to sharpen shears. or somebody who comes in at some point. You can give them a call and find out when their person comes. And they sharpen up beautifully. I've had it done several times on mine, and they are always like new. Okay, so there's a start. I'll probably go in and add a little more detail in there. Sometimes I decide I should have left well enough alone, but I don't think so on this one. Yeah, before we had mini dimensionals, we always just snip down our regular dimensionals. That still works. Even when we have minis, we still have to snip some down sometimes. So, there we go, just because. And okay, so once you have the stamps and the ink pads set up, it's pretty quick and easy to go through and make multiples. Get these set up here for you to see. Those are the 3 I made in under an hour. And this was my inspiration I received from a woman named Jeanette. So, yeah, I like her heart, but I like my rectangles. They lost the detail, which is fine, but I like those. Hope you do. So that's what I have for you today. I will be back same time, same place next week with another project. A reminder that this Friday, Australia time, Thursday evening, North America time, I'm doing a Zoom crafting session. You can find all the details at nancysniftynotes.com under classes and events. There's a Zoom link and the time and a link to a website that will help you figure out what time it's going live where you are. Come hang out, join me, bring a craft, bring a project. Don't, just chat, it's fun. Also, we're due to get restrictions lifted, but depending on what they are, I may be running another crafting session on Zoom on Sunday, Australia time. So keep an eye out on my Facebook page and my blog, etc. for details on that. I'm waiting to see what the restrictions are. It's really a kind of lockdown relief for people. So we'll see what's going on. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.